welcome back into European Masters. We're getting right into Champions League for our final game of the day. A Go Rogue taking on Defusekids. You already mentioned it before. You got the guys out of the Netherlands. They are the Flying Dutchmen out of the Dutch League, taking on the Ultraliga Poland. Like you mentioned as well, I gotta keep mentioning this, Yamato. You got it all covered because Rogue likes to use their academy team. They like to pick up talent from here. You can see some names that are familiar, like Woolite over there for Rogue. But you also see some of these new faces. You see Szygenda, you see Zanzarah, who only got a brief stint in the LEC during the regional finals last year.
Also with Mystiques, he also had some gameplay. I was surprised that he didn't get picked up by any LEC team at the time because he was doing fine on a team that was heavily underperforming. But all of these games are opportunities to reinvent yourself, and it's kind of a showcase for all the LEC teams and any team, because we know that there are some regions that like to import super much, huh?
You just have to hurt me today. I see how it is, Yamato. It's okay. I'll forgive you for just this once, because looking at Champions Select, that Xerath I'm kind of sad to see, because Defusekids actually do use that as a flex pick. Chapapi and Nightmares both like to play that, so they could have easily flexed that, but of course, with Senna wide open, they could easily lock it in, and they do just that, taking it immediately for Woolite's hand, saying, you're gonna leave open this powerful of a pick and decide to ban Rek'Sai just because Zanzarah likes to play that a lot? I don't know if that's necessarily a worthwhile trade.
It's so tricky because, sure, we saw some Sennas getting blown up earlier today. We mentioned the DRX T1 series, but Senna is so unbelievably powerful because you put yourself in a position where you have an additional kind of tank on your team most of the time with the Maokais and the Tam Kenches, and tanks are so strong in the mid game because of how powerful Sunfire Cape. But we also seen other combinations like the Zillion. I feel like this whole Senna, fasting Senna thing is something that can be applied to others, because in reality it's just a support with a carry that is not an AD carry. You call it fasting Senna because of the souls, but maybe we'll see a even deeper adaptation. Maybe we'll see like Wukong Yuumi is something I love playing bottom. Maybe we'll see Maokai Yuumi or Maokai Nami and things like this. Maybe Senna is just OP as a champion and it works extra hard with her, but I think it opens everyone's mind to the possibilities of what you can do in bottom, especially those guys who complain about AD carry and solo queue, about how you get smashed by mid laners and top laners all the time.
See, you mentioned it just there, the Yuumi with Senna is something that I kind of theorized. One is the ultimate tilter of people, where you can just be like, not only do we have the book, we also have fasting Senna, which everyone seems to hate, but you put them together and you make it so that you just constantly can stack up these stats onto Senna, but also make it so you can put it on someone like a Wukong who could be able to jump into the backline, or Malphite, which also is pretty disgusting if it's that AP, or what was that Trinity Force that was played by Blippo, where you go for Trinity Force.
The punchy Malphite.
Exactly. Imagine that with a Yuumi on top of it.
Yeah, I just think that there are many champions you can pick as an AD carry and match it with the support, and I think this is something that's been slightly forgotten. But to be fair, a lot of the AD carries that are being played right now are pretty busted, but it's all about when those nerfs come. When Ezreal is more nerfed... Oh, I just hit something. No problem. Everything is fine.
Okay. It's okay.
I'll clean it up later.
That's
Aphelios is pretty OP, MFOP. Yeah, this is more important.
Exactly. It's League of Legends. If you knock something over, we clean it up later. But Kassadin getting locked into Azir. This is something that you don't see too many players play, but Chapapi actually does like to play this Kassadin, has played it a couple times, and has a really good record, even though it's only one game. Was able to go 8-0-7 the last time he played this Kassadin, so it is something that Defusekids could use, and with Chapapi being an aggressive player, liking to try to win this lane and then be able to rotate around the map to try to push that objective lead elsewhere, is something I like to see coming in from the kids out of the Netherlands.
It's also important, of course, what do you sacrifice when you pick a Kassadin? Like, if you look at the champions he's playing up against, Gragas jungle, Azir, you have already a lot of value in terms of what your passive does for you. The matchup is okay for Kassadin, but you have to give up a lot of prio. What can Azir do with that prio? Can your Gragas be enabled in a way that is going to be very difficult for your other side lanes? Can Azir and his jungler take over the game before Kassadin becomes relevant? That is always the question. We just have to see how these side lanes pan out. With the Senna in the mix against an Ezreal, I imagine that Rogue is going to have bot side prio, and then it comes down to what they blind pick in top side as well, because they need 80 damage.
It is Yuumi and Riven banned by Rogue, taking that away. Alois likes to play that, is very well known for as a Riven player. Every single game he's played in a competitive aspect has been a victory. And that's actually out of 6 games too, so not too surprised to see that. But Karma, if this is bot lane, so Ezreal Karma bot lane is something that we used to see a lot. How much poke it provides and how difficult it actually is to lane up against. With Maokai locked in for Senna, I wonder if it's going to be Gragas or Maokai with that fasting Senna.
I imagine it's the Maokai. Just imagine the Gragas jungle is going to be better. I like the adaptation here to look in the Maokai. Usually we see the Tahm Kenches, but picking that into Ezreal, Kassadin, Karma, and Trundle is not that great. Maokai is another champion that is going to be able to lock down the Kassadin. But we mentioned it in the game before, there's going to be a lot of Mercury value here from the get-go because there's an Azir, Maokai, Gragas that are going to receive a lot of gold. And with the Camille last pick here, you can see the trend here for Defusekids that they want to play the split push game, put Ezreal and Karma and Trundle in the mid lane to make sure to hold back any assault from Rogue. Rogue have this teamfight composition they want to force around the Nash and make DK come into them because that is where they will shine.
But if they're going to be able to play around that is the big question. You have this idea, you know what you want to do. You want to be able to force them into these objectives because you leave Azir alone, you're alluding to it, with any objective such as a Baron, even Rift Herald or Dragon, that is pretty much going to be gone before you even blink. But Defusekids
for sure.
probably aren't going to let that happen. They definitely are going to read that situation as well, and this is why I wonder what Rogue are going to do to force them into that kind of scenario that will favor them.
Well, this Trundle is going to have to do a lot of work because, as we mentioned, Azir Kassadin, Azir is going to have the prio, so Trundle needs to find opportunities. Top lane matchup as well is a very explosive one, but of course, Aatrox has an AP jungle on his side, so the itemization will be easier for him, while Ninja Tabi gives him a lot of value. For Camille, not so much. So we have to pay attention. If Camille can maybe get ahead in this matchup, it is going to give DK a lot of opportunities, but if not, Rogue can definitely start with a lot of priority towards the early Drakes, the early Rift Heralds, because of the weakness of Kassadin in the mid lane.
Completely agree with you, Yamato. You set it up perfectly there. Being able to punish Chapapi on that Kassadin is DK. Interesting start. They've sent Goose and Nightmares. They could have looked for that flank onto Szygenda, but opt not to go for it. They sent so many members here. I don't think that Goose and Nightmares are even known to be here. Chapapi routed into the Baron Pit, but it was all a bait themselves. They get a little bit of damage onto Zanzarah. Not looking to see if they can force out any of the summoners. Instead, just getting a little bit of harassment onto Rogue and backing out of the fight and saying it's not really worth it.
I think almost that they could have went for that one with the Camille E maybe and force something out, but the problem is Aatrox can also just match and skill E and then nothing comes out of it, so I think he just held back because he wants to start probably a different spell in the level 1 in the top lane. Probably W is stronger for early trades.
That's what I'd imagine as well. It's kind of difficult to be able to go for hook shot early on, say, alright, I used my CC, but now I can't really lane up against Aatrox, because even if you do go for that play, say it's just a flash from Szygenda. Sure, you blow the flash out of Aatrox early, but then he just goes for Q and he's going to be able to win lane. He's going to be able to dominate that lane for the foreseeable future, where Alois is just not going to come back for quite some time unless Hadess comes into the top lane to help out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm asking now, observers, can you show me mid lane? Perfect. I wanted to highlight Czekolad mistake that he makes is that against Kassadin and a lot of melee champions, what you want to do is you want to slow push the wave as much as possible. You want to make the cannon wave crash into the turret and make sure that Kassadin loses as much CS as possible. You want to make sure that this wave is super, super big. But with how Czekolad played it, he pushed it a bit too fast. And now there's no cannon in the wave and the wave crashed too early. Chapapi can now regen a little bit with fleet footwork. And this could have been better for Czekolad if he played it a bit slower. When you want the slow push, no longer needed to hit the creeps, just take it easy.
That's how you have to play this matchup. We saw it before when it was Fnatic Magic Felix playing that Azir into Akali, saying, alright, this range into melee matchup, slow push it in, constantly starve your opponent of resources. Make it so that's a lot more difficult for Chapapi to be able to get to level 6, where you're going to feel more empowered as you do rotate to the top lane, see a little bit of poke back and forth, Szygenda versus Alois, but nobody getting a better edge. slowly but surely, it is Rogue's lanes, all but bot lane, pushing in to their opponents. And really, for Rogue, it's fine that bot lane's not pushing in because it's that fasting Senna. You don't really need to worry about it going anywhere because you're just trying to scale up anyways.
It's kind of interesting what DK is trying to pull off here because they have full vision, so they don't need to be scared of Gragas too much. The CC chain is very powerful though. Flash W of Maokai into the W of course.
Oh, Alois a little bit late on that hook shot. Got taken pretty low, even though there's a level lead now for DK. Looking at how low you are, it's an easy call up as Zanzarah. They could have threatened to dive, but Hadess sitting right there saying, don't you dare go for this Camille. I'm going to be able to easily push it back onto you if you try.
This is a great wave state though for Szygenda. Camille will have to TP almost right away because the wave is not going to crash, and Aatrox will be able to save his TP. You see the TP is burned there. Maybe Szygenda is going to make this matter. He's going to be able to catch all the CS, and this is a TP burned for Alois. This is going to be good for Szygenda because this is a matchup that snowballs very quickly in one direction, and Trundle is just wasting his time because Szygenda is safe under his turret.
Also, I'm just going to say this for everyone watching. I'm pretty sure everyone's like, oh, it's Hades for Defusekids. I'm going to call him Hadess because we already have another Hades in the tournament. And I feel like it's just going to be easier if I differentiated that this now, get it out of the way day one. So just so if anyone is wondering, they know.
A lot of Hercules fans.
Exactly. Hey, Hades was definitely one of my favorite villains in that. I like the movie. I like also just the mythology too. And Hades is less of a bad guy in the actual mythology.
He's the... What does he do? Can you remind me?
He's the god of the underworld.
So Satan? He's like Satan.
Kind of, except in Greek mythology, it's more about like just shepherding the dead, and it's a little bit better than what you'd say Satan is, where he's demonic and evil. It's seen less as that in Greek mythology.
He's like a gatekeeper.
Yeah,
he's
more like a
diamond
gatekeeper.
for police.
Yeah, exactly. More like that.
Diamond for police. Okay.
That's how I'd probably put it more in that. But jumping back into the game, you can see pretty much how the lanes are going. It's going as you'd expect for Rogue in the bot lane, just going, waiting for a while, letting Woolite get these stacks up that he needs to. Mystiques is going to be able to also stack up, utilize what he can, give more gold onto this tank. This Maokai is going to be that much more beefy, and since you kind of need that front line anyways, it's going to work out very well for them when it comes to these mid-game fights where they're trying to force around these objectives, such as Zanzarah taking this Mountain Dragon.
There's a huge cancel there from the Maokai, because Ezreal and Karma were behind on tempo. Rogue had a base advantage, Mystiques getting the third aggro with Bummies.
That's unfortunate.
Support players playing, having gold for the first time. They're like, oh,
what do I do?
Getting too excited.
See, this is how I know they're not playing support the way I'd play support. I mean, there's a reason they're there and I'm here. Because I play support as in all kills belong to me. I just think that's the optimal way to play it. Also, Flash is an offensive summoner and should never be used defensively. I don't know if you agree with me or not.
Honestly, man, I don't know what's going on in NA solo queue. If it works, it works, brother.
I didn't say it works. It definitely doesn't work. It's just what I do.
All right.
Yeah, see, it's fair. It's fair, right? I'd say it's fair. But right now, Hadess looking to see if he can make a play into the top lane as Szygenda is going to be seeing this minion wave crash into his turret. It could be a force, but unfortunately, they just don't have that set up just yet. Alois was a little bit too low, down below 50%, to actually try to see if they could look for the dive, juggle that aggro with Hextech Ultimatum, deciding instead to back off and waiting for another time to look for that dive.
The key thing is Camille and Kassadin are scaling away. It looked quite grim 2 times now because Szygenda managed to get a freeze, he kept the TP advantage, but now half of the cooldown was already gone. If Szygenda gets no advantage with this TP, all of that hard work is not gonna matter. Alois is gonna come into top side now with more items, probably going for that Blade of the Ruined King that was so buffed for all melee champions. Yes. Camille as well gets the double hit from Q, it's going to matter. And then the further this lane goes, the better for Camille. We'll just have to see if Gragas can create something here.
As well, wave is frozen right there. It makes it very difficult for Alois to be able to step up and try to actually unfreeze the wave. letting him get a lead for Szygenda, as Zanzarah is kind of hanging around saying, alright, we could get Shelly if we need to. I could easily threaten mid lane too, even though Chapapi is level 7. It's all about what you can threaten. Just your presence alone tends to give your lanes that emboldened sense of confidence where they can step up a little bit more and feel like they're not too worried. Unlike the bot lane that was probably a bit too pushed up, knowing that their jungle was on the top half of the map, with Woolite taking a good chunk of damage coming in from Nightmares, having to flash away and heal just to be able to survive.
Good timing on the route there. Could have been a bit dangerous. Rogue picking up all the objectives on the map, but a good timing on the gank there for Trundle. He needs to be very clever with how he maneuvers himself, because he's always in a position where Azir has full prio mid lane. This Azir with his Lost Chapter, the good thing about Lost Chapter is he has a lot of mana and he can just push like a maniac, like he has the entire game. He just uses spells on the wave. Chapapi is like, how can he do this? Where's my Trundle? But Trundle is saying, how can Gragas do this? Where's my mid laner? That's the position that they're in.
It's the one meme, you know, that's been going around. It's like, you can't just push up the minion wave for free and be able to do this. And then he goes, haha, soldiers go brrrr.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Man, if they went brrr, that would be really OP, I think.
Oh, okay. Is it more like brrr, not bzzz? I see. I'm getting my memes wrong. I'm getting my memes wrong. I didn't know that there was a difference. But now, Alois using the ultimatum, but immediately knocked back by Czekolad. It's going to be an easy first blood for him as well. Good rotation comes in from Rogue, punishing Camille, even though you're like, oh, you're way behind your own turret. It's not your turret anymore.
And this is just, Azir has all the choices in the world in this game. He's like, okay, Kassadin, you wanna farm a bit? You wanna push for once in this game? Okay, I'll roam top and kill your top laner. Alois tried to back off, but then the flash was quite terrible, and he got caught anyway, and this is going to be huge for Aatrox, because the bigger he gets, the harder it will be for Camille to snowball. Ninja Tab I value for him as well. Tricky for Alois to buy Ninja Tabby. They're not as effective against, of course, Aatrox, because he's less auto-attack reliant, and at the same time, the enemy jungler is Gragas, and Rogue as a team are very AP heavy with a lot of CC, so you need Mercury later if you want to team fight. Very tricky position for Alois to find that snowball onto that Aatrox, because he wants to win split. If Aatrox is too strong, he's going to win split against Kassadin, win split against Camille. It's going to be too difficult for DK to actually execute their composition.
Pretty much doing what you wanted Rogue to do at the very beginning, which was be able to get these early leads, utilize these little skirmishes here and there, find a pick onto Alois, so that way they can set up around those big objectives like Baron, where they can easily take down Baron, because DK weren't able to get anything early. They weren't able to find any plays. Hadess still trying to play around the top side, but immediately was spotted out by that control ward in the pixel bush.
That's Chapapi having Rod of Ages, but Zanzarah is just controlling the topside river. There we have the Rift as well, extending the advantage.
Oh, and Hadess having to flash over the wall as well, because Szygenda showed up. Everything's looking pretty bad for DK right now. Defusekids, don't like they got themselves defused. They're not finding any objective that's going their way. They're losing out on the dragon again that just spawned up. There's already Zanzarah, Woolite, and Mystiques showing up for this objective, making sure they strangle out the life of DK, never letting up pressure on this map.
The key thing we need to wait for if you're a DK fan is Kassadin needs to be strong enough to beat this Ninja Tabby Aatrox, which is super late in the game. Camille maybe needs a couple of kills. Maybe when Trinity and Manamune is finished on Ezreal, that could be a slight advantage as well, because Rogue don't really have a dedicated AD carry. But the tricky part will be that you need to buy Grievous Wounds as soon as possible, and when you're behind, investing in these items is very tricky because the healing is insane on Rogue's roster.
Another aspect that they could maybe rely on is Chapapi getting a lot of damage in the mid lane, or getting this gank off into the bot lane. With Mystiques taking so much damage, they're going to be able to give him the shield. The TP's in behind, followed up as well. So many members are going to be able to show up. Szygenda into the middle of 3 of them, getting a lot of damage onto Nightmares. Barely going to be able to get away from that. They get the kill onto Goose, try to see if they can follow it up onto Hadess. 2 kills gifted over to Woolite. Rogue making sure, even in a bad spot, that they're the ones who come out ahead.
They try to punish the Senna with no flash. They find a Maokai instead. Good flash to continue the play for Karma, but that's the difficulty when you have a Kassadin on the map. The enemy team is always going to react first. Aatrox is also in a position to go. They commit on the Maokai. The healing is there, the ignite goes through, the shield of course doesn't get affected by Grievous wound, so that's really nice for Senna. Maokai survives, and here is Szygenda. Super tanky, there's no magic damage, all physical. They're trying to bring him down, but it's just too little too late.
Exactly, and I'm also questioning why Alois didn't TP into that fight either. You could have easily had him TP before Czekolad was able to go back, buy, and then still show up for the fight. Even though you didn't really get anything for this Azir, you still were able to threaten if Alois was going to be able to show up. I think if you channel that TP at first, maybe it's a different story. You are able to force off Szygenda. You're able to disengage the fight a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. Like, your team already committed to the play, you might as well commit with them. The best thing you can do when someone makes a bad call and your team is committing to it is to commit with them, because at least you increase your chances. If you think it's a bad call and your team is committing anyway and you're just chilling, it's 100% a bad call. It's better to be coordinated than to argue about what is good and what is not. Alois should have committed, I agree with you, Mad Magical.
You know, it feels good when I make a point and then someone like Yamato Cannon agrees with me. I feel like my brain is so much bigger than it actually is.
You're my homie now, man. Welcome to my crew, man. All you need is a 3-striped Adidas suit.
Alright.
You need to do the Slavic squat.
Alright, so that's what I gotta get. I got it.
Spam Blood Trail in the chat. Polska Gurum.
Okay, alright. We're gonna get this working. We got the grocery list. I'm gonna start this up. This is how I make my conversion to EU, right?
Cabanossi. You need to eat some cabanossi. Do you know cabanossi?
I don't know what cabanossi is.
It's like a sausage that has flavor. I don't know how to describe it, but it's tasty.
I'm already down. I'm already willing to try it.
Fantastic. Easy to convince you to eat sausage.
See, I'm just willing to try things, you know? It's an adventure, is how I see it. But right now, getting back to this adventure of our final game of the day for European Masters, a Go Rogue. It's been a slow burner, but they have been constantly getting these objectives, constantly maintaining this gold lead with a second Rift Herald, the one I like to dub Harriet, because there's Shelly and then there's Harriet, which is the second one.
Harriet?
Yeah, that's what I call it.
But name is Harriet.
Yes, it's Harriet. Harriet the Herald.
Okay.
Yeah, see?
Sounds like the name of some golf club where old people hang and talk about stocks.
I mean, if you think about it, it is the older of the two Rift Heralds. It's the one that spawns up later, right?
Well, I thought if something is born later, that it's younger.
Don't bring logic into this. This isn't.
All right.
We're not here for that. It's Harriet. That's the name.
Okay, Harriet. I'm with you, Harriet.
Thank you.
Luckily, we won't see another second Rift Herald today. So we're all good. I don't get to hear Harriet. I'm happy.
So let's talk about this game and what we think that Defusekids might be able to do to be able to come back into this game. And I kind of was alluding to it. You've talked about it already. Is they have split push elements. Alois on this Camille, but the Kassadin for Chapapi has been able to maintain CS right there with Czekolad, despite the fact that it's a very rough lane into Azir.
Yeah, that's the whole point of the Kassadin. You get to survive, and your team needs to survive with you because you give up the mid prio. The issue is that Camille has been sacrificed, Szygenda played it super well, and Aatrox will be able to match any type of split push pressure. The other thing is the fact that Maokai has TP, so we can also support him if that's the game plan of DK. So that split push pressure is going to happen very late in the game, and Rogue are going to continue their snowball, keep knocking down turrets, keep taking all of these objectives. They are moving towards Soul as well. It's going to be a very, very early one. Kassadin is just hoping to reach level 16, and he's hoping to pop off.
If you're hoping to be able to get to that level when this game's already starting to see two turrets fall, you're one step closer to being able to get a Cloud Dragon Soul, and we're only 17 minutes into the game. You're more than likely not going to be able to get to that powerful Casa win status that Chapapi is seeking in this game. Rogue, doubtful that they want to let that happen willingly. They want to be able to end this one very cleanly. Losing one turret finally in the top lane to Alois, not going to be able to get that perfect game, but despite that, this game has been looking pretty perfect out of them.
Yeah, it's pretty crisp and clean. Not a lot of resistance from DK. They tried to put some ganks into top side, but Szygenda read it as a book. Zanzarah was supporting his aggressive mid and top and made sure that nothing happened. Rogue also dodged some ganks on the bottom side, good response to the TP. It's looking quite bright, and I'm with you completely with what you said earlier. This is going to look like a dangerous group because we have 3 teams that know what they're up to definitely, and DK need to show us something different than what we've seen just so far.
This is DK. Defusekids have been to European Masters twice in the past. In 2019, they made it in both spring and summer. Unfortunately, in both of those times, they were not able to get out of the groups. They went 1 and 2. Then you have 2 members of Alois and Chapapi who have been to European Masters 3 times. And again, unfortunately, always falling just shy of being able to get out of the group. Able to pick up 1 victory, but not being able to get that second one that might be able to skyrocket them out of the groups, get them into the knockout stage and into a zone where maybe they can start figuring out some better strategies.
Yeah, with the Kassadin pick, maybe they're hoping to scale into the next EU Masters. We'll see how it pans out because it's not over yet, but it's looking grim indeed. The turrets are falling and the Drake time is 3 minutes. At least DK can be very happy that it's a cloud Drake. It's a cloudy day today.
Cloudy day, but honestly, I wonder if that might help Rogue a little bit more, being able to rotate around the map really quickly, where Defusekids aren't going to be able to answer them, because they're barely able to answer at 19.5 minutes on to tier 2 turrets. They only have 1 surviving outer turret, and a lot of damage on a Nightmares to be able to knock him away. They're sieging this already.
Alois is trying to get some business going in the bot lane, but Aatrox is going to match. This Camille is not too strong yet. She needs maybe 3 items, Kassadin 3 items, but it's optimistic, to say the least.
Especially because it is the Ravenous Hydra first item for Alois, just to be able to keep up with a wave clear of Szygenda's Aatrox. Normally, it is that Blade of the Ruin King trying to be aggressive into that matchup. Having to go something where you're just clearing out these minion waves to hold strong kind of against Szygenda is almost like admitting defeat.
Yeah, I think you need to start creating some cocktail plays on the side where you hide in the bush, but it's so tricky against a team that has 3 teleportation devices. It's super hard because Rogue have full prio everywhere, and also they are everywhere at the same time because of these TPs. There's also the Senna ultimate, Gragas with his Predator. It is so goddamn funny that Gragas is one of the fastest champions in the game with Predator, considering his body shape.
You know what? I never really thought of it. I always just think of it in a competitive game where you're like, oh, and now he makes everyone slower because he has spooky ghosts. So he seems even faster. Huh.
I love the item choice. I like it.
No, I like it. It just, lore-wise, it just is not something that makes sense, but Szygenda trying to make sense of that attempted dive at Alois with Chapapi a little bit too late, and he was able to hop World Ender back away, and of course, because you see 2 members in the bot lane, you're going to start up the Baron immediately, forcing out the TP of Chapapi, and once you get that TP, you back out of there.
Clean play from Rogue, forcing a TP, walking away. They are in no rush. Cloud Drake is spawning. They just tested the waters a little bit with the Azir. They can also tank it almost infinitely because of how beefy this Maokai is. They can do kind of whatever they want because they have so much space to play around. They can go so deep and push DK all the way into their inhibited turrets, and when they have control over the space, there's no way for DK to ever face check. We see now them taking the Cloud Drake position. Next thing in line, they're gonna do the exact same thing on the top side. Aatrox can match Camille, no problem, and they will just take care of the space, and then DK will have to face check, and when they do, their neck will be cracked.
The thing is, I can't even argue with you. I was trying to give hope over to DK and be like, they could do this, and unfortunately, just you're right. It's so unfortunate for DK. They've pretty much been smothered on this map. They have very little vision. They were finally able to push something back on the Baron, but it was a dragon setup anyways out of Rogue. They didn't really want to be able to set up around Baron yet. They wanted to set up around the Cloud Dragon, get the soul, then rotate, set up the vision control around Baron. It's all going perfectly according to plan for Rogue, where they can recall and then go straight to the top lane.
There's also no Nash pressure just yet. DK have barely finished core items. Ezreal still fishing for that Trinity Force. Trundle buying that Knight's Vow. When you buy Knight's Vow and you're playing jungle, you just know that the game is almost over. It's such a depressing item to buy. It's like, oh, I need armor and health. I'll buy this next useless item that I'm not even sure really works.
It's not like it once was, where you pretty much had to have your jungler go for that. It's long since the days of junglers having to rush Knight's Vow. It's, like you said, it's just not a worthwhile buy this early, unless you're that far behind, unless you just feel like you need to be able to keep Chapapi or Goose alive as long as possible, because it really depends on who you're going to attach to. It does seem like you attach to Chapapi because they're putting all the eggs in the basket of Kassadin. Say, please, please, dear God, win us this game.
At least it's level 15. That's cool. Mystiques is very low level. Woolite very low level. And maybe Kassadin can pop off. The dream is alive. 4k gold advantage. And luckily it's a Cloud Soul. Maybe Kassadin can make something happen. But Azir so fed on Zanzarah.
Maybe you're right. He got a lot of damage on the Zanzarah there. And that's the jungler that we're talking about. Chapapi going to be able to get the first kill for Defusekids. Does die to Woolite. But that means it's not going to be a Baron this time for Rogan. There is life out of DK. Getting that kill with this threat of Alois on the split push will get them some gold and keep them in the game.
That is honestly very nice, because DK managed to do this while they are 4v5 on top side. Camille is split pushing, DK get the kill. You can see here Zanzarah walking on a ward, walking on that sapling, doesn't realize he's on a ward because he doesn't have sweeper, punches the red buff, and then Chapapi shows Zanzarah who the real Papi is. Kills the jungler 1-for-1, which works because the enemy can't do Nasher, or at least won't risk doing it. And Camille is in the bottom side taking some cash. That's pretty cool. Good stuff for DK. They are bouncing back on the gold. Elder is gonna spawn soon, and Rogue continue their march towards the Nasher. DK need to continue to find little pockets in their own jungle to try to find vision.
Unfortunately, with that, it just seems like they're delaying the inevitable, because it's an immediate turn from Rogue onto the Spear. It's already down to 50%.
ADC's flash.
Hadess wants to be able to get over the wall, try to see if he can contest it. Could go for it, but they're delaying. Instead, waiting for Szygenda to be able to show up. The TP in behind from Alois, making sure they're not going to be able to go for that. But because Alois is so far away, Zanzarah popped Predator, chasing away that top laner, saying you're not going to be able to join this fight. And with your TP blown, we have made it so that you can't set up that split push anymore.
Dangerous for Camille to be on the bottom side. He kind of regretted. He was like, should I be here? No, not really. I don't have TP. Could be dangerous. Rogue hovering into bottom side. Maybe they'll create a siege. I think they just want the blue buff, but I think Ezreal Karma should be able to wave clear if they notice this is happening on time, but Rogue are very sneaky. They're going rogue. They're sneaking in.
Living up to their name, making sure that they're constantly sneaking around the map, getting a lot of damage onto that inhibitor turret. Might be able to make it fall. One more, there it is. They take down one more structure, opening up this bottom inhibitor, and that alone will give them so much pressure into Defusekids. Defusekids needed to fight about that a little bit harder than they did. They kind of gave up that objective, giving more Baron control over to the side of Rogue.
At least Kassadin can farm a little bit more. It's just so tricky to fight 5v5 because they need core items. They need core items, but they don't have grievous wounds against the Maokai, Aatrox, Gragas, Senna. They need ways to reduce this healing before the big team fights happen. But at the same time, Kassadin, Ezreal don't want to delay their items. Camille doesn't want to delay their items, so it's a very tricky position they're in when they're behind, that they can't go for these premium items that are going to be the big difference makers. If the game can maybe extend for another 15 minutes, then maybe things can change, because, you know, Rogue had some indecisiveness around the Nasher, but with this bottom inhib, things are definitely gonna get easier. Chapapi should reach level 16 anytime soon, though.
And Chapapi does have
TP. There it
TP.
is. Whoa! Poke jam!
He's got the power spike, but can they make use of it? Can Defusekids delay this game? I don't know if they can, Yamato.
Honestly, it's tricky. I think that Vampiric Scepter buy was a bit too greedy. Maybe the Executioner's calling, maybe this Kassa win can pop up with 3 items. It's going down fast though, 6k.
Down below 50. Hadess trying to get there. He's speedy boy, but you knocked him closer into it. Not going to be able to get the smite steal though. Hadess rooted up for a long time. Szygenda in the middle of 4 members will be able to dash over the wall. Even got a shield from Senna to be able to get out of there. Baron in tow. And look at that, a minute until Elder Dragon spawns as well. Rogue, they just get away with robbery.
It was kind of close. I was worried that this Gragas barrel was
Same here.
enemy Gragas barrel helping the Trundle, but the kittens
came in to save the day on the route on the Trundle.
Wait, I thought the kittens were ganking you, though.
Yeah,
Wait,
they
that
saved
was
the day.
earlier.
They ganked the Trundle.
Oh, okay. I thought they were ganking you is the question, but
Oh, ganking me. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Well,
they were earlier.
you can't control the kittens, man. You can't control the kittens. They decide their own fate, you know. You think you own a cat, but honestly, the cats own you. You don't have any say in anything they do.
Mr. Quest feels like he's going to be able to own the cats. Zanzarah taken pretty low, but they're going to be able to use that first divide, jump into the backline, getting the kill into Zanzarah.
Kassadin.
Look at Chapapi, though. Looking to see if he can take down anybody, but they're going to be able to get the knock up the kill for Szygenda. With everyone else of DK having to run for the hills, they no longer have that carry. The castle win is dead, and they only were able to get Zanzarah. Not necessarily the worthwhile trade that they want because they have an exposed inhibitor in the mid lane.
Honestly, what is the grievous wounds? There it is on Camille, but it's a bit late. All of these targets are maintaining full HP, and it's making these teamfights very, very difficult. Czekolad with the 3 items now, really dabbing on the enemies. They can walk up, they can probably end the game right now.
They are looking to do just that. With Hadess gone, everyone else was rooted up in place. One next to turret falls. Alois not even able to get back there. Look at how much damage he takes just from stepping up. They could look to see if they can go for the dive, but they're not going to. Instead, it's just about getting the game as cleanly as possible for Rogue. They can pad the KDA a little bit if they really want to with a kill on a Nightmares, but they will take victory. They will tie it up in Group C as they will get their first victory and the last one of the day.
They just left a massive blood trail there at the end. The Polish squad ends up big in the end. I think they had full control over the game. They had a moment or two where, of course, DK managed to find something, but whenever I say DK, I think of Drift King. I don't know why. I haven't. There's like some pieces in my mind that connected Rift Herald, Tokyo Rift Herald, DK. I don't know how I ended up there. Nevertheless, Rogue, definitely the better team. They managed to pull it home. They were very, very solid. And you need to think, when you are the underdog, going for the scaling composition, is it the right way? Probably not. You need to be flashy. You need to come with explosiveness from the get-go. And this composition didn't allow them to do that.
Especially this Rogue team. A Go Rogue looked so clean throughout the entire game. They always seemed in control. It never seemed like it was not theirs. Even this play with Mystiques nearly getting picked off, they knew that they could easily go for this dive. They had Szygenda with the TP. It wasn't followed up by Alois, so they clean up.
Yeah, it's just so tricky to make any plays on the map when your mid lane is constantly under his turret. And then on top side, Aatrox was winning pretty hard and the TPs are ready to go. And you mentioned yourself, Alois was not participating in the play that his team committed for. Maybe it would have been a difference maker if they played on mechanics in that moment. But Rogue had free choice of what objectives they wanted to take. They took the first Rift Herald, they took Harriet as you called it, they took the Dragons, and then eventually they could just secure the Nashor because they had a good team to come to nuke it down, and they just needed to keep Trundle out of the pit, and it forced DK's composition to fight, which they don't want to do.
No, they always want to be able to play around those side lanes, set up some sort of split push, and they never even got close to having a chance at that. Rogue knew what the win condition of their opponent was, they knew their own win condition, and they forced DK to play to them.
Definitely. It's an exciting group though. Rogue now showing that they can also brawl, and with how the group looked in the previous game, LDLC and Giants, it means that the top 2 positions are definitely up for grabs. We'll see what's going to happen with the rest of the group.
I don't know if I can predict who's going to be able to get out of that group, out of the 3 of them, just because they all seem like really strong teams with their own clear, defined strengths and weaknesses, where you look at Rogue, they had a very clean game. There were a couple hiccups here and there. Zanzarah getting picked off twice by Chapapi, realizing, hey, take away the jungler, they can't set up around the Baron like they want to. Unfortunately, the second time he did that, there wasn't anything like that to actually get, so it didn't really work out the way that they had wanted to. And maybe other teams can learn from that and see what they can do if they want to see if they can slow down the pace for Rogue.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm thinking about the other game we saw between LDSC and Giants had an opportunity to learn within the game, and that's also something that's super important between these games. Now they get to rest, they get to reassess what they showed today, and then maybe they can look at some of these games and make some new strategies coming into the next one, because as you mentioned, every game matters. Being down 0-1 or being up 1-0 can be positive, can be negative, but in the end, winning 2 games straight can be the difference maker as well. So it's all about bouncing back and making sure that you come into the next day very sharp.
Exactly, and that's the.
Jesus.
Hey, it's okay. You're fine. It's been a long day. There's been a lot of games that have happened today as well, with a lot of action all across the map. We got to look at some of the best plays that happened throughout the day. This first one coming in from the beginning of the day. The first one we saw out of Kick, Neosurf, up against Team Singularity, and it just Kick. They had so much control against Singularity. It never even seemed like Singularity could truly fight back into them.
We have the quadra kill. It's funny to see Pookie Style doing some work. This is a player that I played against a lot back in Season 2, and he's still active, which is crazy. A lot of Aphelios action. Another Aphelios action moment,
exactly.
but this is a moment where he needs to run.
Yeah, Czekolad's trying to get away from Energy Pot Wizards, and Energy Pot Wizards, it's life right here. They finally were able to shine back against Mouse, but Lighter's like, no, I'm playing an assassin. Don't you know the rules of when I get an assassin? I win the game. It's always going to happen that way. It always works out. He gets a triple kill off of that, and pretty much just shows why Mouse Esports are another team that everyone's looking to be one of the favorites.
Yeah, definitely always Lighter with his leader. Lighter, I'm confused. What am I supposed to call him? He always does highlight reels on these moments. Giants also with the pentakill in the end. It was a long fought game, pretty doing most of the heavy lifting, but Attila's the one walking away with his pentakill. I'm sure that's gonna be a very healthy boost for his ego.
Oh yeah, he's definitely gonna feel happy about that, especially because they march them all into the fountain saying, let's get the Penta. You can hear it. You don't actually have to hear the comms. You can hear the comms.
Yeah, definitely. He's screaming. He's definitely a screamer. Yeah, there were so many highlight reels from the ADC where he's screaming at Upset most of the time. Like even when Upset wasn't in the game, he's like, Upset! I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on there, Attila? But at the end of the day, we had a lot of good games.
Yes, we did.
Group C, Group D, and of course Group B settled. We have a first teaser. Only the first day. Exciting stuff.
Exactly.
What stands out the most to you, Mad Magical?
The ones that stand out to me, gotta look at Group B. We've mentioned it already. Even though Group A didn't get a play, we'll see some action from them. It's Group B, where you have a Go Rogue, Vodafone Giants, and LDLC. Even though they're 0 and 1, that is a strong group, and I just am watching that group as much as possible and seeing who is going to be the two that come out on top.
Yeah, definitely. Very surprising as well that I was looking at Schalke, had high expectations for them, and they managed to drop the game because he was so dominant regionally. They need to bounce back from that one. Fnatic looked super solid. I'm happy to see my good friend Bravado do well even when Tarek's banned. You don't need that much effort to play a Yumi, but praise Yumi players as well. I think they deserve some too, because they stay sane doing it.
Yeah, praise the book players, the ones that like to play the book, but gotta look at the books themselves and see the schedule coming up for the days and what we have to look forward to ahead here at European Masters. You can see tomorrow, we're gonna have it all start off with BT Excels against Gamers Origin. I gotta say, that is a hell of a way to start off a day. BT Excel were dominant in UK, being one of the strongest teams, but only ending up coming as a second seed because Fnatic Rising were able to rise at the very end, get a reverse sweep against them, going against the number 1 seed out of France. It's Gamers Origin.
That's gonna be hype. Excel, as you mentioned, a lot to prove after losing that best of 5. It always stings when you have to wait so long between competition, when you lose a big best of 5 and you just have to wait because you just want to reprove yourself. And now Excel, of course, the organization, want to bounce back. It is for them the chance to do so.
Now, honestly, I gotta say, even though it's gonna start off really strong with that game, all the games here on the schedule, I think, are amazing to be able to watch and see what they're going to be able to perform on, what level they're going to be able to show up on the day, because you've mentioned it time and time again today, Yamato. It doesn't matter if you're considered the strongest team. If you can perform on the day, get that victory, get that one win, there's a good chance that you can get out of the groups. One loss might actually mean that you get knocked out yourself.
For sure. Everyone's playing a very dangerous game, so everyone has an opportunity to shine. Because EU Masters can define careers, can define lives, honestly, because if you manage to do well here, you can get picked up by ADC teams, and all of a sudden you beat G2 in a best of 5 in a massive shocker, right? Because Kazi was the one that won, was it last year with Big? That was pretty hype too.
Yeah, I believe it was last year. Also, just looking at how pretty much every year has been, is there's always that favorite team that people are like, this is the team that we've all pinpointed, and for the most part, they've lost. They haven't been the team that wins. We have so many time and time again for European Masters. It has been upset after upset that has been able to take victory. So if someone's not hyping you up, prove them wrong. Go out there and say, no, this is why you have to look at us. It is your career on the line that could get you into the LEC, or it could just be your way of having pride and saying, this is why I feel like I'm the best here in European.
For sure. So I'm asking you, Mad Magical, which team is the favorite? Which team do you want to curse? Which one's the favorite for you, man?
What team do I want to curse before we sign off? Let's see. That's a hard one. That's a hard one indeed. I'm going to curse Schalke. Because Schalke already lost the one, so I'm going to go with the easy one. But I feel like they're going to bounce back, and they're going to go 2-1 in their group and still be able to make it out. What about you, Yamato?
Honestly, it's like, I don't want to do it, but I'm hyped for my boy, Attila. I want Attila to take it home. A bit of bias, you know. At the end of the day,
fair.
I want him to do well. I think Giants are very aligned for the meta to do well because they have a weak side top laner that plays Tongs, and they have a strong bot laner that can play all the champions in the current meta. He can also play AP, so that's exciting. I think Attila is set up for the meta to do well, but now I'm cursing him, so sorry. And then if I want to curse someone else, I guess it's Fnatic, because Bravado and Maggie Felix, I think they do super well, and I think they also looked strong on the day.
Well, we'll find out if that's going to be the case, but thanks everyone for joining us for today's coverage. It's going to continue tomorrow, starting with Group A's XL UK versus Gamers Origin at 6 p.m. Central European Summertime. Watch on watch.lolesports.com. We'll see you then.
Gotcha.